Of course, the ferry scandal is just one example of the secrecy and incompetence that this government is famous for. Just look at Nicola Sturgeon's rap sheet of damning failures. 250 million lost on ferries, 50 million lost on BIFAB, 40 million lost on the Rangers scandal. The worst ever A&E waiting times on record. Violent crime at record highs since Nicola Sturgeon came to power. The widest ever attainment gap in our schools, with the lowest results in international school rankings. The highest drug deaths in Europe. First Minister, surely this is a record you're ashamed of.
First Minister.
Well, of course, BIFAB is also still open and employing people. A&E challenges for A&E services across the whole of the UK, Europe, the world, but A&E services in Scotland, the best performing of all of the four nations in the UK for 6 years. In terms of crime, recorded crime at one of the lowest levels since 1974, down 41% since this government took office. Over the long term, we've seen a reduction in police-recorded non-sexual violent crime of 36% since this government took office. Homicide cases at their lowest level since comparable records began back in 1976, and those who experience crime down and lower than in other parts of the UK. Education, 1,000 school building projects completed since this government took office. When we took office, only 61% of schools were in good or satisfactory condition. That's over 90% today. We've got lower council tax than people in other parts of the UK, lower income tax for the majority, free prescriptions. Free personal and nursing care has been extended. We've got the Scottish Child Payment. We've got new benefits, the Carers Allowance Supplement, Young Carers Grant, the Baby Box, early years education and childcare trebled since the government took office, doubled in my time as First Minister. More staff working in our NHS than in any other part of the UK. More GPs per head of population. I can go on if Douglas Ross wants me to do. 100,000 affordable homes, and yet, yes, crime rates down. What have we had in 12 years of Tory government at Westminster? We've had Brexit, we've austerity, we've seen poverty increasing, we've had pension cuts, we've had tax increases, and worst of all, we've had Boris Johnson.
Shameful. Shameful, First Minister. Shameful to the 1,319 individuals who died as a result of drugs in the last year, that they didn't even merit a mention in the First Minister's response. 1,319 lives lost and families destroyed, and Nicola Sturgeon yet again ignores them to get cheap applause from her SNP backbenchers. Because we know, presiding officer, when Nicola Sturgeon takes her eye off the ball, Scotland suffers. And at a local level, their record is just as bad. They have cut hundreds of millions from council budgets. They've overturned hundreds of local planning decisions. They've brought in controversial sex surveys in schools. They've hit drivers with new taxes. They've let Scotland's biggest city be overrun by rubbish and rats. The SNP have let people down, and Labour have helped them. In councils across Scotland, they share power. Tomorrow's election is a chance to get the focus back onto the things that really matter to people. Improving local services, rebuilding roads, investing in schools and cleaning up our streets. Scottish Conservative councillors will focus on local priorities and stand up to this SNP government when they waste a fortune on ferries, when they slash council budgets and when they cut vital services. First Minister, why should SNP candidates be rewarded for your failure?
First Minister.
Tory and Labour propping each other up in Aberdeen the last time I looked, or North Lanarkshire, for example. But let's get back to the issue. On drugs death, £250 million of investment pledged and secured by this government to turn that around. Council budgets, the other issue that Douglas Ross mentioned there. The Scottish Government budget in this financial year, and this comes from the Scottish Fiscal Commission, cut by Westminster in real terms by 5%, but due to the decisions taken by this government, of course, the total funding package for local councils is up in real terms by 6%. That's the difference between the SNP and the Tories. And you really know that Douglas Ross is desperate and scraping the bottom of the barrel when he starts talking about sex surveys in schools. You know, the fact is, and I suspect this has been well noticed across Scotland in this election, Douglas Ross has spent far more time standing up for Boris Johnson than he has standing up for the interests of people in Scotland. You know, when it looked as if the Tories were actually going to get rid of Boris Johnson, Douglas Ross bravely at that point called for his resignation. But when that changed, Douglas Ross allowed himself to be hauled into line and has just become the cheerleader-in-chief for Boris Johnson. No consistency, no principle, no resolve, no backbone. That is Douglas Ross. He's not a leader, he's just a follower.